Okay. Wait, I just share my screen. Okay. So once again, welcome everyone to the session and a very good morning to all of you. So today we are at the day two and we are doing a session on, AI for beginners. So today, our week two, content would be that how the AI learns. How about the data? How are we training the AI? And what are the biases? How these biases come into the system? We'll, to begin with, we'll first do a quick recap. Uh, if you all remember that we were talking about that in the last session, that AI predicts patterns. So if I take an example, then if if there is a bunch of apples and oranges, and if you show that figure, multiple apples, multiple oranges, so AI is able to decipher apples from oranges. So it can categorize, it can do these categorizations on its own. So when we feed the vast amount of data to the AI, then it is able to decipher this. Like how the AI is doing the weather prediction. So all the historical data is fed, and then it will look at that, past 20 years data is there. So if prior day the weather was this, then how the next day weather was. So it will apply all the statistical techniques and it will do the predictions. So a quick question. So do you think AI thinks? Yes or no in the chat? So what answers I am getting? No, no, no. Wow, wonderful, wonderful. You people already know. Yes, somebody is saying yes. Yes, perfectly. So AI is not having a brain, so it does not think. Though it can, make that correlations, it has an understanding, it has a reasoning. That is all from the mathematical calculations, not through cognitive thinking like humans are. And remember, very important thing that AI can be wrong also. AI systems are fallible. They can produce incorrect outputs. They can, make. Last time also we spoke about hallucination. So we'll talk about it more today. So what happens? It will produce a output, it will produce a data, and it will look like it's a flawless. The report is so good, but it may be wrong also. So you have to have that human in the loop, which we are going to talk about. How is AI the most powerful? It helps in pattern recognitions, predictions. But as I mentioned, human judgment, human critical thinking is the most important thing. So we'll talk about, from the week one, we'll carry all these concepts into a bit deeper thinking. Okay. So now coming to week two, today's, what are our goals today? So we have to understand how AI learns. How AI learn? There is a process called machine learning. So how this machine learning is happens? How the examples and pattern recognition matter. Why the data matters. You would have all heard about, that garbage in, garbage out. So if your training data set is not correct, it has lot of bias in it, then what will happen? The AI model that you are working on, it will train like, in a similar fashion, and it will bring out inaccuracies into it. When we talk about the inaccuracies or inconsistencies in the data, or the what I would say is the outliers in the data, these all mean that these introduce bias into the data. So we have to understand the bias and what are the mistakes. And finally, how the humans play a role, and how human oversight, ethical consideration, how they play a critical role, and how why we should treat AI as only a tool that augments human decision making, rather than, people always say that, AI is coming, it will replace the humans. No. So how human beings can augment their efficiencies using the AI? These concepts will be diving deep into. So now the big question, as we just now you all answered, that AI doesn't think. So how is it learning? That is important for us. Is it the same as the learning in which human beings learn? Is it the same method? No. How do humans learn? They learn through experience, they learn through reasoning, we learn through understanding the concepts. But how is AI learning? It is learning through a mathematical process. What is that mathematical process? Finding the statistical patterns in data and using a sophisticated, calculator, or a data tool which can find the correlations within that data. So when we talk about AI and data, what does the data mean for us? Data is text example. So if we talk about text, we all know, these are the messages, these are the articles, there are books, there may be emails or any other, content which is text based. So AI has the ability to understand the language, pattern and relationships between the texts. Then what is the next thing? Images. So when we talk about images, then what are there? Photographs, illustrations, diagrams, visual content. So all these are the part of images. So how AI helps? It recognizes the objects, the faces, the scene, actual environment and the ecosystem, and it understands the visual patterns. Then the third component of the data is the number. So when we talk about the number, it is all about, financial records, the measurements, the statistical record, all the quantitative analysis that we are doing. AI uses all these numbers. And the fourth component is audio. So when we talk about audio, there are sound recordings, voice data, music, audio signals that train AI to understand the speech, identify the sounds, and it will process the auditory information. So AI has that capability. Like, there are AI tools with which, if you record your own voice and you put it and you write another text and ask it to, make it like your voice. So it has the capability to convert the text that you are feeding into a voice. Then AI also learns from the historical records of human actions, choices, and outcomes. What does this mean? So if you have a chat GPT account and if you want, feed everything that you make different projects into it and write, what are your food preferences, what is your medical history, what is your gym record, what is your yoga meditation spiritual record. And then if at all there is anything which is bothering you, you ask, then it is able to bring that analysis. But as we mentioned, whatever we do, we have to bring a human insight into it. Like if you, Amazon, last time we mentioned that Amazon purchase histories, based upon what you are purchasing, it is able to give you recommendation. And basis what you do in the prior, it will forecast things for you in the future. And if we look at the all the four components of the data, if we talk about the text, images, numbers, or audio, and we look at the AI perspective, so AI is able to study and find the patterns within this. And the more diverse and representative the examples, the better the AI can learn to handle the real world examples. So, why data matters? As we just spoke, Firstly, we have to understand what makes a data good data. So, accuracy of the data. So, whatever we are talking about, the information should be correct, it should be truthful, and it should not contain any errors or false information. Because if you input any errored information or a false information, the output you are going to get will be based upon your input. And completeness of the data is very important. The data, normally what we do is we try to give in the data which is a kind of a normal distribution, and we try to take the middle component of it. The outliers we try to exclude. But if we want a correct output, we should include the complete range of scenarios. Further, it is very important that data has the different diversities like demographics, different perspectives, gender data. That diversity has to be also fed in. I'll just give you an example. The data set of a company was trained for recruitment basis, and it was trained on the prior data set. Say they were using a record of around 25 to 30 years. And in earlier times, there was a bias, towards hiring male colleagues, male recruits. So when that AI was, doing the analysis, then while shortlisting the CVs, it shortlisted majority of the male CVs and excluded the female CVs. So why was that happening? Because in the previous data set, they had all the male people who were selected from the data set. So, but that thing has changed. So, if at all any biases are there, that examples need to be fed or that correction need to be deployed to the AI model. Then relevance is very important. So if you want to select, give a history for weather, then you have to give the weather records. The relevance has to be there. If you try to give it some other records, um, then it may not be able to perform to its fullest capacity. Currency is very important. Time, timeline. So the data what we are giving to the AI model, it has to be time sensitive. So we feed all the winter data and we try to extract the records or predict the pattern for summer, then it would not be in the right way. So it has to have that time sensitive information. That's very very important. And scale is important, means AI should be able to decipher that what is the correct example and what is the noise in the data, because data may not contain a complete picture or completely the relevant information. It would contain some additional inputs as well. So that scaling is very, very important. Now, why we want all data to be good, which should have the accuracy, completeness, diversity of the data, the relevancy of the data, the currency of the data, and scale of the data. Why? Because if we have good data, the results are better. We get the output, which is, the prediction is useful. Quality data will always lead to quality results. If the training data is flawed, it is incomplete, it is biased, it is inaccurate, so the AI model will inherit all these problems and it will bring about the outputs that are unreliable. These data output would have biases, as I just gave you an example. So, the quality of the data is very, very important. And it is very important that the data is meeting all these parameters to get the real and accurate predictions. So, how AI learns? So, AI, if we feed the examples to AI, so we'll just give you an example. So, AI learns the model which is AI learns is known as the machine learning. Machine learning and deep learning, these are the ways in which the AI learns. So, when we talk about machine learning, there are two ways. It learns through a supervised learning and through an unsupervised learning. So, what happens in an unsupervised learning? In unsupervised learning, all the data is fed to the model. So, if you give, say, pencils, erasers, sharpeners, pens, and of pictures of all these components, we are feeding to the AI model. So, what AI will do? It will look at, try to find what is the correlation. So it will look at all pencils. So it has a tip, it has a similar color of the forward pointedness, the length. So it will try to categorize these pencils. Then erasers, it will look at all different types of erasers and it will categorize all the erasers. Similarly for sharpeners and for pens and highlighters or any other components you give. So there is a possibility that it can make mistakes because some pens may be looking like pencils and some pens may be looking like pens. So this is, in the first view, it's unsupervised and it's making its own categories based upon the data that we have fed to. This we am talking about images. Similarly, we can do for text, numbers, audios as well. So once it makes that categorizations, then there is a kind of, as I mentioned, supervised learning. What happens in supervised? So if the AI model is doing a thing correctly, then you will give it a number, that feedback that yes, this is okay, this is not okay. So then we are training the AI model. So we are doing that supervision, human in the loop, and with this supervision, the AI model is improving. And as they identify the patterns, relationships within the data, they keep on, building and improving their own data model accuracy. And whatever is happening at the back of everything, there is a model, mathematical model, which we will talk in one of the, further session, that how these mathematical models are happening. So, through a process of trial and error, AI is refining the entire pattern recognition. When it makes a correct prediction, the patterns that lead to that prediction are strengthened. Then we say that these are strengthened. And when it's making the mistakes, and the system would adjust to reduce the errors in the future. So, this is an iterative refinement which continues throughout the training. So like I gave the examples of pen, pencil. Similarly, we can have the examples of, we have give it when multiple pictures of dogs and cats. So then it will categorize some kind of dogs and cats. But it is possible that some small dogs also it is categorizing as cats. Then we will, through the trial and error, and we will refine its pattern recognition to see that what is the length between the face, this width of the face, and how it has to classify the dogs and small dogs also, that this is also a dog. So when it keeps on learning through hundreds of examples, it is able to classify all the dogs as dogs. Once it classifies the dog, then it comes to the other patterns like ear shapes, its coat color, body proportion. So eventually it is able to identify the even the breeds that it has never seen before through that learning model, that whether this dog is a German Shepherd, it's a Golden Retriever, or Chihuahua. So it is able to analyze and improve its prediction over time. So if we look at, the humans understands why certain features matter. Like a Dalmatian has a spots because of genetics. So AI, how AI will do it? AI only knows that certain features are associated with certain outcomes. It only has statistical correlations to match. So what happens in the training phase? So training, we're giving the data, and training is already always happening in a controlled environment. We are giving the data, it is making the correlations, bringing out the results. Then we are training the further data set, feedback loop is there. And again, that refinement is searching. So AI training phase and the data set would always be a prior dated. So if we you look at any chat GPT model, just go to the chat GPT model and ask it, till what date is your data? You are trained till what date? So it will give you, yes, I am trained till, 20, year 24, December 24 or December 25. It will give you its dates. So if you ask any question which is later than that date, it may not be able to give you correct results. But what happens is, in the training phase, if you say that allow the Google search option as well, then it can bring out the relevant latest data also. So in the usage phase, it's important that we understand that till what date the data is there in the LLM model that we are using, either ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, Grok, whatever you are using. So it's very, very important to understand that differentiation of the timeline. So as we spoke about why AI makes mistakes, the data is incomplete. So if we have trained on, big dogs and small cats, and we have never trained the AI on smaller dogs. So when we give a picture of a small dog and ask AI, what is it? It will say it's a cat because it has never been trained on the smaller dogs. So it's very important that whenever we are training the AI model, the data has to be complete. Bias data, as we just spoke about, that if any, once AI model was trained in US and it was trained on all whites, and when some brown or black person's image was shown to it, it could not recognize because that model had never been trained on such characteristics or features. So that brings the bias. So whenever we are talking about training the model, training the AI model, what we have to do, we have to ensure that the data contains all the total representation. Then outdated information, very important. If the information is not relevant, it is not from the time, it's old information. If you look at in our generation, the things have moved a lot. So it is very important that the relevant information is there. And then the main important thing is when we are questioning the model, when we are talking to the model, we ask clear cut questions. If we ask vague questions, it will produce vague results. Next session that we are going to take, we will talk about the prompt. So, prompt engineering itself is a field these days. So, what's the confidence problem? So, confidence means that, when we talk about confidence, means what is the confidence that the result that we are getting is correct? AI systems, also express their mistakes with the same confidence as correct answers. So when you see the result, when you see the report, it will produce like, everything is gaga, everything is good, everything is okay. But yes, it's not okay. We have to be very careful and we have to validate and learning from the mistakes. So, like if you are using a chat GPT and you try to train a model that no, this is okay, this is not okay, then during that chat summary, it will remember that. But when you again open a new chat window, it will forget that. So it is very important that the when the models are trained, means when the chat GPT is coming, it has to be trained from the back end, means the when the model is getting launched. So if people if you are aware that different model, we start with chat gpt, model 4, then 5, now we have 5.2. So all these models are further building and learning from their mistakes, and when they get the feedback, a team is doing total research, and then new models are coming which are free of the prior biases and mistakes. These are the upgraded models. So bias, we talked about a bias a bit, but yes, bias is always coming from the data, and data is used to train the AI model. And how bias is coming into the data, and we are only the ones who are creating the data. So when we are creating that data, we have to ensure that the data has the complete representation. We have to just, when we want to implement something, first look at the data, because this is the key thing. The key takeaway of today would be, I would say, that data. Garbage in, garbage out. Good data in, good outputs out. If the representative sample is correct, it is perfect, it is accurate, it has time relevancy, it has that scaling, then you are able to get the correct outputs, which is very, very important. And it always remember that we can never eliminate the bias. We have to manage the bias. We have to live with the bias, but we have to make the representation, make the things with so many examples that the bias is reduced to little. Hiring AI shows bias based on the historical hiring. As I mentioned to you that, the recruitment team, because they gave the prior examples and males were selected in the prior history. So the recruitment model did not even shortlist the female candidates. And then talking about image, as the nationality, ethnicity, the image model was not able to capture few of the ethnicities. Language AI uses stereotypical associations. So language also is very, very important. What is contextual? What is not contextual? Is the data having everything? It will not be able to understand if that model did not take care of. In one language, one thing can mean one thing, and in another country, another context, that thing can mean another thing. So what happens then? This thing can create a bias. And if you look facial recognition, all those who are traveling by flight, and nowadays even the companies at their entry, they are having this, uh, facial recognition by which the doors will open on their own. And Digi it uses the facial recognition. Once it recognizes your face and features, it's able to do the I would say that self check-in for you, and then the gates open and you are able to travel across. So what is the importance of the human in the loop? So what is the role of human? Because as we talked about that there are multiple things where the data output data may have biases, may not be correct. So humans play a very critical role. So how can effective human oversight help? Ask better questions. So the better the question, the better the answer. So what you want, spend some time, and better prompting is very important to get the right answers. And when you get the answer, review the output. Don't accept to on its face value. So just review all the outputs. And then of the output that you received, verify certain important facts. Once you verify, then only you make the final decisions. Don't go with that, with that I have received this output, let me go straight away with that. So this we have already talked about that we use the machine learning and which uses algorithms to check the data. So now tell quick poll for all of you. So AI mainly learns from the rules or it learns from data? Quickly, you can put in the chat. Rules or data? Data. Wow, it means I've done a good job. Very good. So AI learns from data. Very good. So, why this matter? Why do we want to know? Because if we know this, then only we will be able to give it the right data. And why everything we should review. We should not blindly trust whatever output we get. We have to do the quality check. We have to, if there are certain facts, please go back, cross reference. And if there are any statistical dates, if there are any technical details, please validate all the data. Then, now this is your homework for today. So what you have to do, you just download any LLM like ChatGPT, ask AI any one question. Whatever you want to ask. You want to ask about historical facts, scientific concepts, statistical claims, technical information, whatever you want to ask. Just make the questions very specific and very clear. Okay? And then what you do? And use another source like Google or anything and verify that information. And then evaluate whether the information is correct or wrong. And then see that how the AI gave you these inputs. What was their initial answer? And what did the verification reveal? And how has this changed your approach to using the AI tools? And for verification, what are the verification strategies that you used? See, I'll just give you an example. What happened, when in 2023 there was a set of lawyers, they made a legal brief containing case citations and it was generated by ChatGPT. The lawyers thought that the output which is generated by ChatGPT is correct. But what happens when it was put up, it showed that the cases did not even exist and their AI had all hallucinated. It has created on its own. And then the lawyers, from the court, they face sanctions for submitting the false information to the court. So they trusted that information. They did not verify it. So it is very important to verify the information. Next, talking about the medical misinformation, what happened? So, healthcare providers they also experimented with AI, and they found that instances where AI systems confidently they suggested incorrect treatments based on the misinterpretation of symptoms or outdated medical information. So, without physician review, these recommendations they could have led to the harm of the patient. So if at all, don't become your self doctor and say that, okay, I have talked to Chat GPT and it gave me this information and, I'm going to follow this medication. No, please talk to, a physical doctor and validate and verify that information. So biased hiring decision, I already mentioned to you that how the information became biased. So these are the real world consequences which have happened of skipping the human review. So it's important that that human in the loop, this AI acts as an aider, acts as an enabler for the human beings. So now coming to what we are going to do in the next week. So next week we will talk about how we are going to master the AI communication. How will we talk to the AI? What what is the language we need to talk to AI? What are the various prompting basics? How we make that questions very powerful that we get the better results. So now understanding this will help us to make it better. Okay, now we are open for questions, question time. So how are you all enjoying it? Could you able to understand or, you would suggest something? How was the session? Kushal, you can allow them to unmute. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, good, wow, wonderful, very good, very good, very good. Yes, 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 yes. We will continue with the session till we have audience. We will continue. Kushal, if you can stop the recording now. If people